2 years ago, almost exactly, in March of 2023, I played Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade, completing my first ever Final Fantasy game, and I even made a video, which did terrible because I used something that made it copyright immediately, and stupid me didn't know back then that means my videos do terrible. Yeah, anyway, I played Final Fantasy VII Remake and walked away from it with strong feelings against the gameplay. No matter how much I loved the story and felt so connected to the characters, the gameplay by the end really turned me off. So I tried Crisis Core, but just couldn't muster the motivation and dropped it after only an hour or so. Now fast forward to March 2025, and here I am, having completed Crisis Core. So, ladies and gentlemen, here we are with my thoughts on Crisis Core, and if you plan to play this game, maybe don't watch this, as there will be spoilers in the video. If you do stick around and enjoy the content, be sure to give that like button a little spank for me, and hook me up because I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. Your support is much appreciated, but with that, let's get into my thoughts on Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion. Alright, so I said before that the combat turned me off, so what changed? Well, I even said in my video back then, when I originally talked about Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade, that I didn't take full advantage of the combat system, and I think that really hindered my experience. I didn't realize how important it was to switch up who you play as, and pretty much just played as Cloud until near the end when it was too late, so I didn't properly experience the way Remake should have been played. Crisis Core though, you only play as Zack, and I really enjoyed my time. I think honestly, after completing Crisis Core, a big part of why I look back at it so fondly is because of the size of the game. It's perfectly bite-sized, so I finished it in a matter of 2 or 3 days with only 10 hours on the game. Sometimes I just really appreciate a shorter game because it's just really satisfying when you complete it and it's done. It's complete. You have the story, you know how it goes, it's done. You beat all the bosses and everything, it's just really satisfying. What I can't get past is how I felt about the combat. I felt like I constantly contradicted myself with what I loved and hated about this game, and the combat is where I felt that the most. I liked the DMW system, the digital mindwave system, but at the same time, didn't. And it's because of the nature of what it is. I loved it when it was going right and everything was clicking, but when the digital mindwave system wasn't working with me, I hated it. What the digital mindwave system is kind of essentially like a lottery that you get in combat. It's like playing a slot machine in combat, except it's just passively happening in the background. And basically you get these different things that match up and you get different boosts, different moves that'll come up that you can use, and all kinds of things that'll do either massive damage, it'll heal you a ton, all sorts of stuff. So I guess overall, I think it has too much influence on the fight. There were definitely boss fights in my time where I felt like I just had to retry till the digital mindwave system just gave me everything I needed so I could get through the fight. Again, when it clicked, it was super fun, but the randomness of it and realizing how much influence it had made me realize the system felt flawed. So overall, the combat to me was enjoyable and charming, but flawed at the same time. Now we get to the story, and the story was something. I don't know how many will understand this, but I told my friend that the Crisis Core story made me feel the exact same way as Gundam when I watched all of the Universal Century timeline, which by the way is one of the hardest things to watch in proper order. Look it up, and everyone has different orders. It's crazy. Anyway, for the majority of you that more than likely have no clue what I'm talking about, Crisis Core was an enjoyable story, and I really liked Zack, but I definitely didn't grasp everything going on with Genesis and Jill. I mean, they just showed up with wings, which I assume is part of their mutation? I don't really know if I understand, but I didn't want to look it up and then get things spoiled for me because I plan to play Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which I actually started and love so far, but I've only played like a couple hours, so. I like the turn for Sephiroth toward the end. Playing Final Fantasy VII Remake, I had no idea that Sephiroth was even such a mentally normal dude. And that was really cool to see. I also really liked seeing the relationship between Zack and Aerith, doing the little mission to build her flower cart, and seeing how Aerith gets the bow in her hair. That was a nice detail. I also liked the mission where Zack meets Cloud. I thought that was a really cool surprise, although the part in the actual mission, when you have to sneak around those soldiers, yeah, that was kind of annoying. And I won't lie, I just watched someone do it on YouTube and then followed that guide. Another mission that was annoying and just felt like fluff was the stupid kid that takes your wallet and then you just have to run in circles for like 10 minutes asking people where he went, and I don't know, that just felt like a waste of time. Although it's kind of hard to complain about a game being a time waster when it was only 10 hours. I will say the writing in Crisis Core, while charming, didn't hit me as hard as Final Fantasy VII Remake. Although the ending to Crisis Core, again, spoilers, if you don't want to hear, click off. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. I liked the ending in Crisis Core where Cloud was essentially paralyzed and just started to get the use of some of his body back, and then Zack takes on a whole freaking army by himself and Cloud finds him on the brink of death. I watched the whole ending and of course was confused and unsure if I remembered wrong because, again, spoilers now for Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade if you plan to play it. 3, 2, 1. I remember at the end of Final Fantasy VII Remake seeing Zack walking with Cloud, and honestly it has been 2 years, so I went to YouTube and watched that ending just to remind myself a little, but yeah, now I'm confused because Zack died in Crisis Core, but then Final Fantasy VII Remake has him alive? I didn't play the original Final Fantasy VII, but I heard this is actually a change they're making. I'm curious to see how this gets written, and I'm wondering if at the end of 7 Remake there was some kind of play with like timeline or dimensions. I don't know. The ending for sure got me curious, and I'm really excited to dive into Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Can't wait to see how all that goes down. I will say the only other Final Fantasy I ever played outside of 7 was 15, and so far in 7 Rebirth, I've gotten to like where it opens up and you can travel some of the world, and I found there's like the different regions you can go to and things, and I am so excited to play this game because 15 I really liked. I never beat it, but I liked the open world and everything, the characters, all this stuff, and 7 Rebirth brings back that feeling of like what 15 did, but honestly, in my opinion, maybe better. I mean, the story for 7 Remake and Crisis Core have been really freaking good, so I'm really excited to find out more of the story in Rebirth. And I know it's so lame and so small, but this Chocobo's back in Rebirth, and I was so excited to see that. I love the Chocobos. And looking back, now I'm just rambling, I'm sorry, but like in looking back at 7 Remake, it's funny, like Rebirth, like Remake itself, like that whole game just felt like a prologue for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Like it's absolutely crazy, like how much Rebirth opens up and how large the game is absolutely crazy. Compared to Remake especially. Remake was like hallways. It was just like hallways the whole time. Not saying like I was completely bored playing it or anything. I loved the story and everything, but the gameplay for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is so much better in my short experience with it so far. I don't know if in Remake, I'm not really sure. I kind of want to start the game and figure this out, but somebody can maybe let me know down below. I don't know if in Remake there was like a hotkey button thing to like do X amount of moves, because going through the menu and all that in the middle of combat is fine for certain things, but when I just want to do like a certain move, and in Rebirth I can just hold down like L1 and just press a button with it, that is so much better. Like the gameplay has already been improved in my opinion. I've only played like 3 or 4 hours of this game. But anyways, I'm rambling, so I'll leave it off here. So those are my thoughts on Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion. And now I want to hear from all of you and what you thought of this game. Is there anything I missed? And if you understand the story better than I did and want to explain it to me a little without spoiling anything to do with 7 Rebirth, I'm more than grateful for that. I appreciate y'all, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.